What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. If you guys are tuned in and you're curious whether you should pick up a used BMW M4 like mine, now my short answer for you is gonna be no, unfortunately. But my long answer is gonna be yes. Let me explain. So yes, like I was saying, my immediate answer is going to be no. And for anybody who's in this market right now looking for a car knows why. The market for cars, not just M cars, not just BMWs, but all cars right now is absolutely astronomically overpriced, and it's just insane. And ultimately, it's just not the time to buy a car. Now, it's the time to sell a car if you want to. Not this one. Won't be selling this one. But I mean, that's ultimately why my short response is going to be no, because should you buy a used BMW M3, M4, F80 platform car right now? No. It's unbelievable. I mean, for full transparency, for this car, I bought it it was like right towards the end of 2020. It was like fall 2020, and prices were just starting to increase on cars after they did a really big dip right at the beginning of COVID. This is a base model 2017 BMW M4 in a 6-speed transmission. Pretty much the only options this car came with is it does have extended leather. Don't really care for it, but that's pretty much the only options this car came with. Other than that, the car is pretty much just bone base model. I mean, it's not the competition. I've added a lot of the competition pieces. 23,000 miles on it, I believe is what it has. And even then, that was overpriced. Now, cars like this are going for 55, 60, and some are even trying to sell them for more. And it's just in that absence, it's unbelievable. But I mean, that's what they're selling for. Like, people are buying these cars, competition, non-competition, for easily in the mid to upper 50s and into the 60s with around 30 to 40,000 miles on it. And that is just unbelievable. You know, not counting 6-speed or DCT, you know, whatever your preference is. The prices are it's just astronomical. Like, I would never buy an M car in this market. It's inflated. And the worst part about it is even if it is something that you're willing to spend the extra money on because you want it, it's just gonna hurt because we know that the market for these cars are gonna drop. And when they do, that immediate depreciation is just going to, it would kill me. I mean, I'm just imagining if I paid $60,000 for this car, which just makes me queasy, I would die a little bit inside if just the market flipped and all of a sudden this is worth 45. I mean, that's like an immediate $15,000 loss. So, very short answer to the question, should you buy a used BMW M4, M3, F80 platform car? The answer is no, don't. Right now, I don't think it's a smart decision. I think that patience is key in this spot, because if you don't already have one, people are selling them now strictly for the profit, and then they're just going to wait for the market to drop, and then they may go buy another one. And that's what a lot of people that I know are doing. You know, they took the opportunity of the market being high to sell the car, and then they're going to basically sit on it. You know, a lot of people have daily drivers, and they're going to just sit on it basically, and they're just going to wait, and the market drops, they're going to go pick them up another one and basically just make the profit off of it. I mean, I know that I could pretty much at this point sell this car. I've been driving it for a little bit over a year and a half now, and I could sell it and make some profit on there, because even what I have in it and all the discounted rates and everything that I've gotten from my partnerships, I would still, I mean, I would honestly probably come close to breaking even, but ultimately, I don't want to, because I know that I can't go buy another one for anywhere near that, or even down the road. Like, for me specifically, the 6-speed Yas Marina Blue was a hard combination already. When I was shopping, there was 2 in the whole U.S., one in California and one in Texas, and I, of course, went for the one that was in Texas because I had a few perks with it. But yeah, I wouldn't sell just because I would want something else. And to buy something else, you then also have to play that inflated price. Speaking of inflated prices, so not only did I get into a hobby of cars, which already is expensive as it is, but also my second hobby, which is making videos and such like this, requires me to then drive my expensive hobby and put expensive inflated gas in it. So of course, driving around and making this video, it's probably costing me a little bit, but still always worth it in the end, no doubt. All right, so we've got the short answer out of the way. Now let's talk about the long answer, the fun stuff. 100%, this car is worth every single penny that I paid for it. I tell you, I park it in the garage and I take very good care of this car, paint and all. And one thing that I always say is, you know, I just need to go drive for a little bit. And every single time I do, I remember why I bought the car in the first place. This car just goes. Like, with the bolt-ons that I've got on here in the tune, we're sitting at a healthy 500 horsepower, and I'm blown away every time I drive the car. It's like I'm driving it for the first time. If you would imagine when you get into that new car, or you get into a car after you've done a lot of modifications, and you take that first drive where everything is just a surprise, it feels like it's catching you off guard, and you feel like you almost have to brace for what might be there. That's what driving this car feels like every single time I get behind the wheel. It is always a pleasure. Always. There is never a dull moment. Oh gosh. For those that know me and for those that follow me on Instagram, where I have a lot of daily posts, everybody knows that I'm pretty obsessed with the E34 5 Series chassis from the 90s, in the, I guess, the late 80s and the 90s. And I honestly have contemplated selling this car in this high market, I know, of course, in this high market, so that I can go get an E34 and just build it with like 50 grand and just throw it all in the motor, in the chassis, and just make it the most pristine E34 that you've ever seen. And I tell you, every single time I drive this car, I realize why I haven't done that yet. Because this car is just, it's never-ending fun. It, like, the torque on these with the twin turbo motor is just unbelievable. I mean, no matter what gear I'm in, it just, once the boost kicks in, it just goes. I tell you, for the money within the market, you know, once the inflation that we've got going on with these cars in general, goes back down, I mean, the realistic prices for these cars should be between 40 to 50K with under, you know, like sub 40,000 miles. I think that that is the respectable frame of reference that these cars are going to be sitting in, and that's what they were sitting in before. And I think that for what you're getting for your money, that's a respectable dollar amount. And the best part is I don't know of any other car in the market for that price range that you can get that comes with this many bells and whistles, not only from a luxury standpoint, but from a performance standpoint. This car takes almost nothing to totally throw you back in your seat. Like, it is just absolutely unbelievable. For the money, how much car you're actually getting. I mean, for this car, very little performance modifications, and you're sitting at 500 horsepower with a slight tune. I mean, this car stock is sitting at 420 horsepower-ish. And that itself is just, I mean, say $45,000, just to play it safe right in the middle, with a car with 40,000 miles on it, and you're already over 400 horsepower, you already have a luxury car, you already have an insane performance car that can perform not only on the street, but also on the track just as well straight from the factory. I have a hard time finding any other car for that price range that you really can buy in the market today that's as easily accessible as finding a BMW M car. I mean, right now, of course, they're a little bit harder to find for the right price, but once the prices go back down, which is why that's my long answer, is yes, you should be buying this car, because if you are looking for a high-performance luxury car that's going to throw you back in your seat every single time you drive it and put a smile on your face, this is the car to get. Every single time, I'm reassured that I made the right decision getting this car. I mean, with 500 horsepower, even I can't even launch in first gear, because I'll spin all the way into third and fourth gear. Like, it's unbelievable what just a few modifications can do to this motor. It is just so torquey. It's unbelievable. So next on my reasons of why you should be picking one of these up once the price drops is the drivability. So not only are you driving a car that is high performance and everything like I mentioned, 420 horsepower straight from the factory stock motor, 500 horsepower even after just a few modifications and a tune, but you're also driving something that has the drivability of even a daily driver. I mean, I have a daily because I need something that's bigger to haul stuff around and go on weekend trips and stuff. But if I wasn't doing that and I was just commuting back and forth to work and doing a day-to-day stuff, this car can do that too. I know plenty of people who have the M3, the F80 M3s, with a rear seat, of course, and they're running car seats. Like, this could be a family car. You can have a family car that's easily making 500 horsepower. And with the tuning options that you have nowadays, you can just swap on-the-fly tunes with your controls on your steering wheel. And then you can have, you know, a daily driver tune if you just want something mellow without so much torque and you maybe want to limit by gear how much boost you have. Or you can flip it over and you can have, you know, your track tune if you want to take it to the track on the weekends. You know, I know somebody specifically, Tommy O Garage had a Yosemite Blue M3, and he not only ran car seats in the back for his family, but he also took it on the weekend to the track. I mean, that's just the perfect example of the drivability that you get with the F8X platform, is you're getting a car that can really do it all if you wanted it to. Now, you've got your issues with daily driving, with, you know, keeping it cosmetically road rash and stuff like that. But from just a car standpoint of how well the car's put together, you're looking at a car that can do both. Another point to make with drivability is not only do you have a car that can not only fit your family, but also be a good track car, you also have a car that's coming with the luxury standpoint. The car is comfortable. You know, you're not in an older model car that's all souped up with race seats. I mean, I'm in sports seats, but I'm comfortable, and I've done a 9-hour drive in the car. You can do it, and you can put a family in here, and the family can be comfortable. You can go get dinner, you can go to work, and you'll enjoy yourself. It's basically the best of all situations where you can have a comfortable car that can also kick ass at the track. And all of the options that you can add on this car, I obviously don't have any of the options because I didn't really care for them for what I was looking for. But you can get backup camera, 360 view, parking sensors. You can get lane assist. I mean, you can get endless amounts of options in this car that just make it a comfortable daily driver. So you don't have to sacrifice anything. And that's why in these scenarios you have your M3 and you have your M4. For me, since I have a daily and I have another car that I bought specifically to take camping trips, go to the beach, go to the mountains, I don't need that back seat. So for me, that's why I went for the M4, because I think that you gain a little bit of sportiness by having obviously 2 doors. It gives you that coupe, that sports car look. Don't get me wrong, the F80 is an absolute beast and I think is one of the most aggressive sedans that you can buy out there. But the coupe itself for me just completed the performance look. And I plan on actually completely removing my rear seat. I'm actually going to do a half roll cage as well as a rear seat delete in this car because I just don't need it. And I can still, even then, if I wanted to daily drive the car, I still could. Because for what I need, just going back and forth to work, I can easily do that. Now, another thing that a lot of people do on cars is they do lower them, obviously. It makes the car look a lot sportier, but in the drivability aspect, these cars don't look bad at stock ride height. And with a low profile lip or no lip, whatever your preference is, for the most part, you're not going to have any issues getting in a parking lot. So it just adds to the points of just, this car can really do it all when you think about it. It can be a daily driver, it can be a family sedan, it can be a track warrior. It can do all 3 of those things straight from the factory in a comfortable ride with your whole family if you want, or a dedicated track car. It can do everything that you would need it to do. So I know a lot of people are saying, well, why can't I just get, you know, a 340 or an M340 or a non-M car and do just the same thing? Why can't that be not only a family car, but also a track car if I want it to be? And it totally can. Like, I'm not saying that, like, this is your only option, and if you want to get, you know, a dedicated track car that can also be a family car and also rip it on the streets, I'm not saying that the F8X platform is the only one. But I will say that if you're going for a car that's going to go in a straight line, a non-M car is going to fit your needs there. But if you're looking for a car that's going to handle the turns, handle the track, an F8X platform car is always, in my opinion, going to exceed the non-M car. Just from the suspension components alone, the M cars will always drive significantly better in twisty roads and on the track than a non-M car, in my opinion. The way that BMW engineered your suspension, your control arms, everything to play into a part into making it a driving experience, not only on the roads but on the track, it's all on par. And this car performs. And I'm telling you, I've already taken this car up to the mountains. I've already hit a ton of really twisty roads, and the next thing on my docket is to actually test it on the track and see how it performs. But anybody that you ask, the M cars are going to outperform in the curves better than a non-M car. That's why I think that out of the BMW lineup, the M car for the F8X platform is the way to go if you're going to buy a one car to do it all type thing. Okay, just relax. I know what every single person watching this video is thinking. Yes, this car has flaws. We all know the crank hub. Yes, I get it. The crank hub is a massive flaw with this car. The crank hub, basically transmitting the power to your wheels, is really what is causing a lot of issues for people, and it's an expensive fix. What happens is the crank hub under severe pressure, the bolt ends up loosening, that's bolted into the crankshaft, and then your crank hub ends up spinning, throwing off your timing, and in some cases completely just making your motor a complete paperweight. And that is a huge flaw with this car. And I honestly, to this point, I really cannot believe that BMW has not fully recalled it, because even if you're under warranty and you spin the crank hub, showing that it has a flaw in the design and the way that it was built to handle the power these cars put down, BMW still just replaces it with a stock crank hub, same that they had before. And to me, that's just crazy. Like, that is a massive issue with this car. And if you've been on the forums, if you've been on YouTube, if you've been anywhere reading on the F8X platform, that's the weak point. That is the issue with this car and how it was built. Everything else, for the most part, from what I can find, the car was built very, very well. On par with BMW being over-engineered, the car exceeds expectations in a lot of areas. And you could really tell that just by driving the car, that it is always going to exceed my expectations from a car, because I still don't believe that this car, for what you're paying for it, is everything that you're getting. It's wild to me. But there is the flaws. And with the crank hub, everybody's saying, oh, no, there's one more. There's one more flaw. Yes, I'm aware. There is one more flaw. For most people would consider it a flaw. It's more opinionated. But the exhaust note on this car, meh. It's mid. It's not great. The exhaust, especially from its predecessor, looking at the E92 M3, which was a V8 motor, it's just, you can't compare it, man. I have a buddy, my buddy Andy has a V8 M3 E92, and it is, if I could put that sound with this car, I feel like it would just complete it. And I honestly think those are the two biggest problems with this car, man. The crank hub obviously is a fail point, and it's very expensive to replace. I think your average crank hub repair with parts, labor, and everything, you're probably looking at around $4,000. And I mean, that's not an easy thing to just throw out. I mean, I do pretty well, and it's something I had to save up for, because I mean, I can't just justify just dropping $4,000 out of my bank account just willy-nilly out of nowhere. I mean, I don't make that kind of money to just not care about it. And that's a hard pill to swallow for someone who's looking, especially into getting into cars, whether it's BMW specifically or just anyways, it's a hard pill to swallow for some people, and I will tell you that I've done it, and the peace of mind itself is worth it. And if you're looking at getting one of these cars, don't let that be a deterrent. If anything, get the car, drive it easy. I mean, I didn't replace mine until it was probably a year after I got the car did I actually replace it, and I just drove the car easy. And I mean, there's a little bit of risk there, because there's people that still spin it on stock motors going at a normal, just cruising speed, but I didn't have the money to shell out for it, so I just saved up for it. And honestly, if you're not really getting onto it, you won't have awful issues. If it did spin, your timing may be off slightly, but most likely you're not going to just totally catastrophically destroy your motor. But anyways, like I said, don't let that be a deterring factor. I think that the crank hub obviously is something expensive that you have to pay for, but once you actually get it paid for, get it done with, it's behind you, and you'll probably never have to touch that piece again. Let's just throw in a side comment here. I just stopped to get some photos of the car, and I've already been stopped 3 times since I've been parked on this dead back road getting compliments on the car. This car is a head turner. Small point, but worth mentioning. It's because it's Yas Marina Blue, and Yas Marina Blue is the best color that they make in this car. Just adding things on top of the list, not only is this car amazing from a performance aspect, drivability, and just overall car for what you're getting for your money, but on top of that, the interior is gorgeous. With carbon fiber accents, Harman Kardon sound system, you not only get to enjoy the car, but if you want to listen to music, you have an amazing sound system to back it up. And the Harman Kardon sound system was standard in the F80X platform, along with your carbon fiber trim. Now you can get this car obviously in a DCT or a 6-speed manual transmission. My personal preference is a 6-speed manual transmission. If you're daily driving this car and you're in traffic, you might think otherwise, but for me, it is my weekend warrior, my dedicated performance car, and the car that will one day be my track car. It is ultimately, no questions asked, had to be a manual for me. So that's the route that I went, and I can say I don't regret it even a little bit. I mean, there's nothing better than slamming through the gears in this car. Like, whether it's 5th to 6th, whether it's 2nd to 3rd, or whether it's the extremely over-torqued 1st to 2nd, it is so much fun. And if you've had any old cars, especially old BMWs, I feel like you appreciate the manual transmission so much more. For me, this car is my 3rd manual BMW. I started off, my first car was a BMW E36. It was a 1996 328 IS manual transmission. I then followed that up with a 2000 E39 528 5 Series with a manual transmission. And then after that, I went to my first automatic BMW, which was an F30. It was a great commuter car, it was a great daily driver, and it worked great for traffic because it was my only car at the time. And then after that, I of course upgraded from the F30 to this, where I gladly and happily and thankfully went back to a 6-speed manual transmission, and it is absolutely worth it. And even in traffic, I deal with it. It's not as bad. I mean, it really isn't. The transmission in this thing is very smooth, and I mean, that just adds to the reasons why this is an amazing car. I can shift this car very smoothly without a whole lot of hassle. It goes into gears like butter. You're not going to hardly ever miss a shift. This car is extremely hard to miss a shift in, and it just drives so well. On these cars, as far as longevity, I truly believe that this is probably one of the last raw feeling BMWs, and I know raw is kind of subjective, and if you compare a raw an F8X platform car compared to, you know, say an E36 M3, it's going to be a night and day difference. But I feel like this car has the last little bit of soul and connectivity that you get. You know, I got it in a 6-speed manual transmission. I think that helps me feel connected to the car in a way. It makes me feel like I'm doing my part in making the car go, function, and move forward, and I'm enjoying the mechanical feeling that you get from slamming this thing into gears. And I haven't myself driven the G80 platform, G80 and G82, and from my friends that I've spoke to that do have the G8X platform, they honestly say that it doesn't feel as raw. And I know from a lot of people that have test drove them, they say the same thing. So that really, to me, I believe this car is going to end up in the long run holding its value, because I feel like it's going to be one of the last more raw cars that you can pick up just for that aspect alone. I've been told even the G8X platform in manual is just, it's just nobody wants to go that route. Like, it doesn't feel right shifting in the G8X platform, being that it's so new and everything is so cushioned and assisted, and everything else that comes with, of course, a newer platform. Now, don't get me wrong, the performance on the G8X platform is insane, and it tenfold tops the S55. And overall, I think that's one of the best motors that BMW's put out. But overall, I do think that this car itself is really going to hold its own when it comes to the test of time, and I think that it's going to reach, just like all other platforms, you're going to hit that plateau where it really hits the bottom. No one's going to sell it any less than that, and the cars are going to be valued kind of at their low, and then from there it's just going to go up. And most cars in the BMW series that you see, especially the M cars, I feel like they will go down to the teens and then just peak and just go. And if you look at like the E92 before things popped up and started inflating with decent amount of miles on them, you know, sub 100K, you were still looking at spending 20K on you know, an E92 M3. And I think that this car is going to sit even higher. I don't think that, personally, this car, once it starts to hit the wall where people see that the G8X platform isn't as raw as these are, and that's all speculation. Like I said, I've never driven one, so I'm only going on base what I've been told. Once people realize that, I feel like this car is really going to hold its value. So another reason why I think picking up one of these is a great thing is because not only are you getting so much car for your money, but also I think that it's going to hold that value. I honestly think that these cars, especially in the 6-speed transmission, because they're so hard to come by, I really do think that they're going to hold their value when they come to the test of time. Found a pretty sweet spot for some photos here. A little bit of country background, old dirt road. These will make for some good photos. A water tower in the back. This car is so photogenic. That front quarter is my favorite angle. Right about, let's see, right about there. That would be my spot. You know, another good test that somebody did on this car, not me personally, but my buddy Mike, who's on YouTube under Automotive Therapy. That man drove from Colorado to Florida in his M4. Yas Marina Blue M4 at that. He drove from Colorado to Florida, and he even slept in the back of this thing with the seats folded down. If that doesn't tell you that this car can really do whatever you needed it to, if you had to, I don't know what does. That man really put this car to the test on that drive. But really though, guys, now is definitely not the time to pick one of these up. So that's why my short answer is no, and that is why my long answer is yes. This car is going to stand the test of time. This car is unbelievable to drive. It is track tested, street tested, and family tested. It not only is comfortable, but it looks good. The styling on this car is unbelievable, both inside and out. The body lines on this car look great from literally every angle. And if you get it in a 6-speed, you're just doing everything right in Yas Marina Blue. This car, for me, I truly believe does it all. So if you're on the fence of picking up an F8X platform versus a G8X platform, or just in general looking for a sports car that can do everything, you cannot go wrong with the M3 or the M4 from the F8X platform, the F80 and the F82. Now, I know there's going to be some pros and cons to this car that I think about later, and I'm going to be very frustrated that I didn't include them in the video. But if you guys think of other pros and cons, be sure to throw them down in the comments. Also, if you think that there's another car out there that can do it better than this one, put that down in the comments too, because I'm interested to see what you guys think. But that's it. Those are my opinions. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that like button down below and help your boy out with the algorithm. We have so much more content coming, and in the future, we're going to have some crazy, crazy track content coming for you guys. So don't forget to tune in. But like I said, I always appreciate you guys checking in with me, and I'll see you guys in the next video. It's cool. You couldn't put just cooled seats in this car. I mean, BMW just couldn't do that. That'd be too excessive. Putting cooled seats in this car. Psh, way too much. That would have put you over budget, you know. Too many production costs and things like that. And just been too much. I get it. It's whatever. It's cool. I don't need it. It's not like I live in the South. You know, where 90% of the year it's hot as fuck.